Do you remember what it was like as a kid before Christmas? It was a magical time for me. I loved it when the Christmas tree would be put up and all the lights and ornaments put on. Then there were the outside lights and the other decorations that would go up. And every year my parents had a Christmas open house. My job that day, mostly to keep me out from underfoot, I suspect, was to fill over 100 sacks with sand and candles for luminaria for our front yard, our driveway, and our walk. And then there was the annual Christmas pageant, one Sunday night each December at the church. That's when we would take up the joy gift offering every year. We kids would have been given little boxes to put coins in throughout December to bring that night to give. I don't have many memories of the pageant itself, though, except for one year. I remember I had to wear purple tights for my costume. I don't even remember what character I was playing, but I do remember that there were cotton balls glued down on paper on the chancel floor to look like snow. And when I sat on it, because what else do little boys do, I got up with all sorts of cotton stuck to my stupid tights. I remember feeling very foolish. But what I remember most about Christmas was how excruciating the wait was. After the class Christmas party on the last day of school before Christmas break, it seemed like time slowed down until it almost stopped, and I couldn't stand it any longer. And Christmas Eve? Well, forget it. We wouldn't go to bed early because we always went to the 11 p.m. candlelight service at the church. We wouldn't get home until around 1 in the morning. It was only then, exhausted, could I get in bed and go to sleep, knowing that Christmas would finally arrive when I woke up the next morning. But of course, as my siblings got a little older, it took more and more time to gather everybody in the den before we could all go into the living room to see what goodies Santa Claus had brought that year. Waiting for Christmas was a fact of life. Waiting patiently, that was another matter entirely. But that's what the writer of James asks us to do while we wait, not for Santa Claus, but for the Messiah. And like children waiting for Christmas, we're not very good at it. We're just not very good at waiting patiently. Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas, and this is your daily devotional for Wednesday, December 15th, 2021. The gospel for the third Sunday of Advent for year A is the story of John the Baptist sending his disciples to ask Jesus whether he was the one to come or whether they should wait for another. John was waiting, and his time was running out. Then the Old Testament reading for the same Sunday is from Isaiah 35, and it tells of the time when God will restore all things. 3 imperatives urge us to strengthen the weak hands and make firm the feeble knees. What this really means is to encourage those who cannot wait for God's kingdom to come. Now, James encourages the faithful to be patient. Here's what he says. Be patient, therefore, beloved, until the coming of the Lord. The farmer waits for the precious crop from the earth, being patient with it until it receives the early and late rains. You also must be patient. Strengthen your hearts, for the coming of the Lord is near. Beloved, do not grumble against one another, so that you may not be judged. See, the judge is standing at the doors. As an example of suffering and patience, beloved, take the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord. Interesting how he uses the image of the farmer who waits for the crops to grow. Problem is, the farmer can predict almost to the day when the crops will appear out of the ground and when they will grow and what day they will be harvested. The cycle of sowing and reaping is highly predictable. The coming of God's kingdom, on the other hand, is not. James seems to understand this, though. Hence, he says, strengthen your hearts. So even if patience is not our long suit, it is still a skill we must cultivate. But notice what he says next. It says a lot about human nature. Beloved, do not grumble against one another. Exactly. We are no better at waiting for the kingdom than children are at waiting for Christmas Day to arrive. And the longer we wait, the more irritable we become, and we gripe at each other. How often we grouse and gripe to one another and even about one another. We are impatient souls. It doesn't really help that James uses the example of the prophets to give us examples of suffering and patience, because their waiting was often painful. And so it is for us. We wish the kingdom would finally arrive, but we cannot either predict its arrival or hasten its coming. Therefore, all we can do is wait and learn the fine art of patience. Tomorrow, we take up the readings for the third Sunday of Advent from Year B, beginning once again with the Gospel account of John the Baptist, but this time from the Gospel according to John, the only time that Gospel appears in the lectionary during Advent. But for now, may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.